Dear students, I welcome you all for the first session of online class of biobotany. Hope all are safe at home with your parents. Continue to be at home, stay safe. And I hope and pray that very soon I'll be meeting you all in the Eden Garden. With this prayer, let me start the first class. Chapter 1 of biobotany, it's about reproduction in plants. In this particular chapter, both asexual and sexual reproduction in plants has been dealt in detail. Moving on to learning objectives, the learner will be able to recall various types of reproduction in lower and higher organisms, different methods of vegetative reproduction in plants, and you will be able to recognize modern methods of reproduction, parts of your flower, structure of mature anther, structure and types of ovule, structure of embryo sac, and different types of pollination, types of endosperms, and structure of dicot and monocot seed has been discussed in detail. Let us move on to the chapter. I would like to recall the definition for reproduction. What's reproduction actually? So it is a special biological process by which new individuals of the same species are produced, right? So it's a special process where the new individuals of the same species will be produced. It's also considered as a vital process for the existence of species in this universe. Why it is called as a vital or an essential process? Let me tell you. Only if new species arise, evolution will be occurring in this universe. And moreover, the reproduction in case of plants, it is very, very vital. Why? Because the other organism that is existing in this universe is directly or indirectly depend on the plants. So reproduction of plants is very vital process to exist life on earth. Okay. Then categories of reproduction. Reproduction is broadly classified into asexual and sexual method of reproduction. Asexual in the sense absence of sex, that is when reproduction occurs without the fusion of gametes. Such type of reproduction you can call it as asexual reproduction. If it occurs with the fusion of gametes, it's considered to be sexual reproduction. Okay. Then moving on to asexual reproduction classification, broadly it can be classified, that is the asexual reproduction occurs either through spore formation or through vegetative reproduction or propagation. Anyway, you can say regarding spore formation, especially this type of reproduction occurs in case of lower plants and in fungi. If you recall your unit 1 of 11th standard, you will be able to remember. There it has been discussed in detail, various types of spore formation. That is conidia in case of penicillium, budding in yeast and hydra, through fragmentation in spirogyra, and fission in case of bacteria. So these are various types of asexual reproduction through spores. Moving on to vegetative propagation, this type of reproduction occurs in case of higher plants. This vegetative reproduction. What is a vegetative reproduction or vegetative propagation? Vegetative means the existing plant body. Okay. Generally, the plants, they have the ability, any part of the plant, it has the ability to grow into a new plant. So, if a new plant is propagated from the existing vegetative part, then it is considered to be vegetative propagation. So, you can classify vegetative propagation into two types, natural vegetative propagation and artificial vegetative propagation. Usually the individuals that is formed by asexual method, they will be both morphologically and genetically identical. So such genetically identical individuals, you can call it as clones, right? So individuals formed in asexual reproduction will be both morphologically and genetically identical, and they are called as clones. Okay, moving on to types of vegetative reproduction, that is natural. Let us see first natural methods. So any part, either from the root or from the stem or from the leaf, buds will be developing, and these buds in future they will grow into new plant. Such type it is called natural methods. So whatever may be the unit, that is either the root or the stem or anything, the unit of reproductive structure which is going to be used for propagation is usually called as diaspores or vegetative propagules. Once again, I'll tell you, any unit or any part that is going to be used as a reproductive structure for the propagation of new ones, that part is considered to be diaspores or vegetative propagules. Okay, so let us see one by one. Natural methods through roots. That is, in case of Murraya plant, adventitious buds will be developed in the roots. In case of Ipomia batatas, tuberous adventitious roots will be seen in the root. These roots or buds in future, they'll give rise to new plants. Stem propagation. That is 11th standard, 3rd unit, it has been dealt in detail, recollect it. So the stem propagation, any part of the stem, the buds will be arised, and from these buds new stem will be grown, and in future it will be grown into new plant. Stem propagation is of two types, either through underground stem or through subaerial stem propagation. Let us see some examples for underground stem propagation. Rhizome in case of Musa, corm, Colocasia, tuber, Solanum tuberosum, bulb in case of Allium cepa. These are few examples for stem propagation. And for subaerial stem propagation, runner in Centella asiatica, stolen mentha, offset pistia, sucker chrysanthemum, bulbils, example it is agave. Okay, so these buds, they in future they'll develop into new plants. Next, moving on to leaf. So buds will be developed in the notches of the leaf. A well-known example for you, you know already, bryophyllum. So usually bryophyllum, the structure, if you recollect, the leaf will be succulent, is it not? And notched at the margin. So in these notches, adventitious buds will develop, and from these buds, new root arises. After attaining a particular period of growth, the new plant get detached from the mother plant and leads an independent life. So these adventitious bud which is developed at the notches are called as epiphyllous buds. So next, let us see about the advantages of natural vegetative reproduction. Here it is a single parent. So only one parent is required. Next, new plants that are going to be produced will be genetically identical. And especially this particular type of propagation is used by the horticulturists and farmers for large scale cultivation in a short duration. So these are some of the advantages. And drawbacks regarding the disadvantages, only thing is no new varieties will be formed. That is no genetic variation. Okay. Next, let us see artificial methods. Artificial means man-made. For our convenience sake and for rapid multiplication, we have introduced so many new methods. Those are classified, are called as artificial methods. So two types, conventional and modern methods. Conventional means that is the method that is being followed from the olden days. That's considered to be conventional or traditional methods. Modern means the newly emerged one where the plant biotechnology techniques has been applied is called as modern method of propagation. Okay. Conventional methods can be broadly classified into cutting, grafting and layering. Cutting means any portion of the plant, either root or stem or leaf, can be cut and developed in a suitable medium or planted in a suitable soil so that new plants comes out of this. Few examples for cutting. For root cutting, it is malus. Stem cutting, a well-known plant, hibiscus. And in case of a leaf, it is bryophyllum. Then moving on to the second type, that is grafting. Here graft means attaching something. Here two different plants are joined together, and so they grow into one plant. So such type is called as graft or grafting. Two different varieties will be cut and joined together so that a new individual will be formed. Here the plant that is in contact with soil is considered to be stalk, and then the other that is being used as a graft, that is the aerial portion, is called as scion. Okay, and moving on to types of grafting, there are many types of grafting like bud grafting, approach grafting, tongue grafting, crown grafting, and wedge grafting. So let us see one by one. Bud grafting. Here a T-shaped incision or cut is made in the stalk, and the scion bud is placed in the incision, and they are tied together with a bandage so that they grow into a new one. You can see this through the diagram. If you have a close observation, the diagram will clearly show you how these two plants are being united. Okay, next one, it is approach grafting. Here in this method, both the stalk and the scion, they remain rooted. Okay, separately they are grown, and the stalk plant, it is brought closer to the scion, and both in the stalk and the scion, similar size branches should be selected, and a small cut should be given both in stalk and scion surface, and the cut part should be tied together with a tape. After 1 to 4 weeks, the tip of the stalk and the base of the scion are cut off and detached, and they will be growing into a separate plant. Okay, you can see the picture, you'll be able to understand easily. Tongue grafting. Here the scion and the stalk with a similar size branches, it is taken, and a oblique cut is given. Oblique means slanting. A slanting cut is given in the both the plants, and the stalk and the scion are attached and bound with a tape. Next one, it is crown grafting. If you see the picture, you'll be able to understand. Usually this type of grafting is carried out when the stalk size is larger. Okay, if the stalk plant is larger in size, this crown grafting can be carried out. Here a wedge shaped cut should be given, and in this cut the scion should be inserted, and from this new plant arises. Moving on to wedge grafting, here the bark of the stalk plant is cut, and a twig of the scion is inserted and tightly banded with this cut end. Speciality of this wedge grafting is, here the cambium tissue of both, they come together. That is the cambium tissue of the stalk and the scion, they are directly attached. So the secondary growth, rate of growth will be much faster when compared to other types of grafting. That is a speciality of wedge grafting. Okay, are you able to follow? So how many types of graftings are there? 5 totally. Bud, approach, tongue, crown, and wedge grafting. Let me move on to the final one, that is layering. In this method, the stem of the parent plant is allowed to develop roots while it is still intact. Okay, so any one stem of the parent plant, it is buried in the soil, and it is allowed to develop new roots so that it can be cut and planted as a new one. So such type of technique is called as layering. 2 types of layering, mound layering and air layering. In case of mound layering, it's a very simple method. Usually it is followed for the branches, flexible branches. Okay, it is widely followed in plants having flexible branches. So one of the lowermost branch of the plant is bent down along with the leaf, and it is placed on the ground, and the stem is buried. A heap of soil is placed over the stem, and it is left as such. After a few weeks, new roots emerges out at the buried portion, and this can be detached from the mother plant and can be made use as a new one. Next one, it is air layering. Here in case of air layering, aerial part of the plant, any one stem above the ground level, it has to be chosen, and it should be griddled. That is, the cavity should be made, and in this cavity hormone should be applied for the growth of roots and leaves, and this hormonal treated portion should be covered with a damp or clay soil. Okay, and after covering this cleft with clay, it has to be covered with polythene sheet, and this setup should be left for 2 to 4 months. After that, in the tide end where the clay is being heaped, in that portion new roots emerges, and that can be cut and used as a new plant. Okay, so that's all about air layering. Moving on to advantages of the conventional methods. Here, the first one, it is as usual, the plants that are being produced will be genetically identical one, and the multiplication will be rapid and quick. Okay, the plants can be propagated quickly. Those plants that doesn't produce any seeds or very little seed producing plants can be propagated through this method. And two different plants with desirable characters can be brought together and grafted so that the new plant will also give desirable characters. These are some of the advantages of conventional methods. Regarding the disadvantages, so if the parent plant that is being used is viral infected, means definitely the newly produced plant will also have the same viral infection. Okay, so use of virus infected plant parents results in viral infected new plants. And the vegetative structures used for propagation is bulky, very big size. So it is very difficult for us to handle, and also to store. It is very difficult. These two are the disadvantages of conventional methods of propagation. Finally, moving on to modern methods, man-made, for rapid multiplication by the introduction of plant biotechnology. The principle that's called totipotency has been widely exploited in case of modern methods. So let me tell you what is totipotency. So the genetic ability of a plant cell to produce the entire plant under suitable condition is called as totipotency. Okay, so each and every plant cell, it has the ability to grow into a new one. That genetic ability is called as totipotency. Okay, this is being widely exploited in the field of plant biotechnology. Some of the modern methods are tissue culture and micropropagation. In case of tissue culture, the growth of plant tissue, it is carried out in special culture medium under controlled condition. Okay, next one, it is micropropagation. Here, regeneration of whole plant from a single cell or tissue via tissue culture technology is called as micropropagation. Either from a single cell or from a tissue, the whole plant will be regenerated, and that is considered to be micropropagation. Moving on to advantages and disadvantages of modern methods of propagation. First, advantages. Here also the plants that are produced, it is genetically identical, and it can be carried out in any season. Okay, since it is being widely carried out in vitro condition, that is under laboratory condition, tissue culture technology carried out under any season. And the speciality of this method is rare and endangered plants can be propagated, and disease-free plants can be propagated by meristem culture. Plants with the desired characteristics can be multiplied rapidly in short duration. So large scale cultivation within short duration, it is the main advantages of modern method, right? Then finally, disadvantages of modern methods. It requires skilled labors. Trained and skilled labors are essential to carry out this modern method, and throughout the technique it should be maintained sterile condition. Sterility is a must. So maintenance of sterility or sterile condition maintenance, it is cost effective. It costs more when compared to normal propagation. Then, since clones are genetically identical, once a disease is spread in a crop, the entire crop will become susceptible to new disease. So the whole field will be widely destroyed. Okay, because they are genetically identical. Once a new disease spreads, entire crop will be destroyed. So these are some of the disadvantages of modern methods of propagation. Okay, children, in today's class, I introduced you the term of reproduction, types of reproduction, Under that, A